Mediterranean style smashed potatoes with sizzling spiced za'atar oil and labneh, a delicious Mediterranean twist to smashed potatoes.
Sally, that girl, in the kitchen. Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Sally, that girl, in the kitchen. In today's episode, I'm going to teach you how to make Mediterranean style smashed potatoes with sizzling oil and labneh. Yes, these guys are going to be so tasty. We're going to make some smashed potatoes, crisp them up with a little bit of olive oil, and then we're going to create a flavorful olive oil that we're going to serve nice and hot, and it's going to be infused with Mediterranean flavors, a little bit of za'atar, a little bit of red pepper flakes, and it's going to be super yummy. And how are we going to serve it? We're going to serve it over some labneh, which is a tangy, almost sour cream. It's a Middle Eastern product, but it's definitely got more tang to it, and it is super, super yummy, and it's the perfect complement for these potatoes with those yummy flavors, that olive oil, the za'atar. These are super, super yummy, so I am super excited to teach you how to make these. And actually, now that I think about it, I kind of got that Mediterranean vibe going on today with this like super flowy blouse, these sleeves that are super flowy. Yes, as you can see, I'm super inspired and super excited to teach you how to make this recipe. So let's not wait another second and let's get started. Probably gonna have to change out of this blouse.
For today's recipe, you will need 2 pounds of small potatoes. I'm going to be using baby gold and baby red, but you can use whichever small potato you prefer or a combination of many types of small potatoes. A half a teaspoon of salt, a 1/4 cup of extra virgin olive oil plus another 1/4 cup separate, a half a teaspoon of coarse sea salt plus another pinch, and another half a teaspoon all separate. Some fresh cracked pepper to taste, some nonstick cooking spray, 8 ounces of labneh, 1 tablespoon of za'atar, and a half a teaspoon of crushed red pepper. You will also need a large baking tray with sides, and I like to use some aluminum foil. It just makes for really easy cleanup. You'll also need some measuring spoons, a glass with a flat bottom for smashing your potatoes, a small bowl, a serving spoon, a wet measuring cup, a spatula and another serving spoon, a medium-sized pot, a small saucepan, some oven mitts, a fork, and a colander. So now that we have all of our ingredients and tools together, let's get started. So the first thing you want to do is fill your medium-sized pot with some water, and you're going to add to that half a teaspoon of salt. Then you're going to want to add your 2 pounds of small potatoes that you've already cleaned, removed any eyes and dirt, made sure that they're nice and clean, and you're just going to add those 2 pounds right into the water. So as I said, I'm using a combination of gold and red potatoes, but you can use whatever colors you prefer. I just love a little variety. I just love to spice things up with a little bit of color. So then I'm just going to give it all a little bit of stir just to kind of incorporate that salt. And then I'm going to turn my stove on to about medium heat, I'd say, and I'm going to allow these potatoes to come to a boil. Now, while they come to a boil, I'm going to go ahead and prepare my oven. So I'm going to set my oven to 425 degrees, making sure I have a rack placed in the center. So once my potatoes come to a boil, then I'm going to go ahead and set a timer, and I'm going to set it for about 20 minutes, but it could take about 20, 25. So of course, you're going to check them for doneness when the timer goes off. And now would also be a good time to prepare your tray. So I've covered it in aluminum foil, and I'm just giving giving it a nice spray of non-stick cooking spray, because this way when I smash my potatoes, they are not going to be sticking. So now our tray is ready and our potatoes are boiling, and then you're just going to come in when your timer goes off and you're going to check them for doneness. You're just going to use a fork to make sure the potatoes feel nice and tender, and of course make sure to check the bigger ones because sometimes those take just a little bit longer to cook. So as I said, this should take between 20 to 25 minutes, depending of course on the size of your potatoes and on the variety. You just want to make sure that they're nice and fork tender. So once they are, then you're just going to go ahead and turn off your stove, and then you're going to carefully take your potatoes over to the sink where you have your colander, and you're just going to drain off all of the water. And once you've done that, then you're just going to come in and just give them a little bit of a shake just to make sure that you get all of that water off. So now they've been drained, they are ready, and we're going to bring them over next to our tray. And you'll notice I also grabbed my glass because these are smashed potatoes after all, and the glass is going to be critical in getting them perfect. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab our glass with a flat bottom, and you see that I've placed my potatoes on my tray. I've kind of spaced them out because I want a little bit of room, because when I go ahead and press on the potatoes, they'll spread out a little bit, and there they are. They're nice and smashed. And look at how beautiful the color on those gold potatoes. And now, of course, on the red potatoes, they just look so beautiful. The skin and the flesh, they have a little bit of a different color, and I just love a little bit of variety. So you're going to go ahead and just smash all of your potatoes, and then once they're all smashed, look at how beautiful they're looking. Then you're going to measure out a 1/4 cup of your extra virgin olive oil, and then you're just going to drizzle that olive oil right on top of your potatoes. This is really going to help flavor the potatoes, and of course with the heat of the oven and the olive oil, it's really going to help crisp them up, and they're going to be absolutely delicious. So just go ahead and sprinkle that olive oil, making sure to get some over each of the potatoes. So now I measured out a 1/2 teaspoon of my coarse sea salt, and I'm just going to make sure to give each of my potatoes a little sprinkling of salt. Any coarse salt will do. Kosher salt is fine, or any coarse sea salt is perfect. So now the sea salt's on, and now I'm just grabbing my pepper grinder. I'm using tricolor peppercorns, but you can use black peppercorns or whichever you prefer, and then I'm just going to give them a little bit of love with my black pepper. And all we're doing here is just adding flavor to each of the layers of this delicious dish. So now the pepper's on, the salt is on, they're looking absolutely beautiful, sparkling with that olive oil. They're ready to go into the oven, and look at those colors. Gorgeous. That's why I love the combination of the gold and red. They just look so pretty. So now they're ready to go in the oven. You're just going to grab them, and you're going to place them on a center rack in your oven. And your oven is now nice and hot. So you're going to set a 25-minute timer to begin the crisping process. But while that's crisping up, we're going to add into a heat-safe bowl a tablespoon of our Zahtar, another 1/2 teaspoon of that coarse sea salt, and a 1/2 teaspoon of crushed red pepper. These are pepper flakes. And then we're just going to stir that all together. So these spices are so aromatic and absolutely delicious. But when we add that sizzling oil on top, it's going to be transformative. The smell and the taste, wow. So now we've measured out another 1/4 cup of our extra virgin olive oil, and we're adding it to our small saucepan. And then we're going to turn on the heat to about medium, and then very quickly this oil is going to heat up because there's not a lot of oil in our pan, so it's going to get hot real quick. So you just want to watch it, and the minute you see that it starts to smoke a little bit, then you are good to go. That's all you want. You want it to get hot, and then you are ready. You just turn your stove off, and then I've turned on my extractor, so excuse the noise, but I did want you to hear the sizzle. How absolutely amazing. The sizzle just brings out all the flavors and it creates almost a nuttiness from the sesame seeds and the za'atar. And it's just opening up all of those amazing flavors. I wish you could smell this right now. It's absolutely delicious. So now to serve, I've prepared 2 bowls, one larger one and then one smaller one in the center because I'm going to be putting my potatoes around my labneh. That way I don't have to place them right on top of the labneh and they won't get mushy since we're crisping them up. So this is a 16-ounce container of labneh. So I'm going to be using about half of the container and I'm just going to be serving it right here in the center. And you can pick this up at a Mediterranean market, an international market, a kosher supermarket. That's usually where you'll find this, and it's just absolutely delicious. So you're going to want to just use the back of your spoon and spread it out. You see, they call this a cheese. It's actually made like yogurt. So it's like a yogurt cheese, but it's got the consistency somewhere between a sour cream and a cream cheese. Not quite as thick as a cream cheese, but not quite as runny as a sour cream. And it's just tart and absolutely delicious, and it's actually full of probiotics. It's really good for you, and it's just super, super tangy and tasty. So I've used half the container. I'm going to save this for another day, which we love here in my house, so it's not going to go to waste. And then I'm going to get this delicious oil that I've created with those amazing Mediterranean spices, and I'm just going to drizzle that oil right on top of the labneh. And this is going to be just an incredible dipping sauce for our crispy smashed potatoes. It's really going to elevate those potatoes and take them to a different level. So now our labneh with sizzling spiced za'atar oil is ready, and it's been 25 minutes, so my timer went off, and I'm pulling out my smashed potatoes, and then I'm just going to use my spatula. I'm going to flip these guys over because they're looking beautiful, but the idea is to crisp them up. So I'm just going to grab my potatoes and I'm going to gently turn them over so that they can continue to crisp up in the oven. These potatoes, of course, are fully cooked. We had boiled them before we smashed them, but now we're infusing them with flavor with the olive oil and, of course, the heat of the oven. It's just going to help crisp up these potatoes and give them a delicious texture and flavor. And, of course, speaking of flavor, now I'm just going to go ahead and give them one more little pinch of that coarse sea salt before placing them back into the oven. And what I do is I place them on a center rack, and I'm going to set another timer for 10 minutes. But at about 7 or 8 minutes, you can turn the broiler on and finish crisping them up before pulling them out of the oven. And look at how absolutely beautiful they are. Now they're crispy, but still tender in the center, and they're absolutely golden and just beautiful. Look at the color they've developed. They're so gorgeous. I don't know which ones I like more. And of course, that delicious labneh with that sizzling spiced za'atar oil is just waiting for them. I'm so excited. So now they've cooled down just a touch. And what I did was I just spread them out around the labneh. Look how pretty it looks to place them on a platter like this. They just look so inviting, and it's just such a beautiful thing to serve on the table. We eat with our eyes first. If it looks appetizing, we're going to want to try it. And trust me, this plate looks so absolutely beautiful and inviting. And those smells, the aroma, that za'atar, and that touch of red pepper. It's just those pepper flakes. Don't be afraid of them. This is not really spicy. It just gives them a touch of spice, and it's just the perfect touch to elevate that beautiful za'atar and the olive oil. So now, look at how crispy this one is. I chose this one because I absolutely love the color. And this is one of the gold potatoes. You can tell by the inside. The flesh is definitely more yellow. And we just grab one and just scoop some of this delicious stuff up. Oh, wow. So incredibly delicious. It's just so, so yummy. The za'atar, the labneh, the olive oil, the spice. It's just perfect. I'm gonna have to take another one. This time I'll go with one of the red potatoes because, you know, variety. Why not? It's crispy, it's beautiful, it's perfect. The center is still tender, of course, but the edges are crispy and delicious. And that yummy spiced oil. Oh my. So crazy good. Of course, I'm tearing off pieces of potato as I go to not double dip because I will share this. Although I'm tempted to eat it myself because it's that good. But yes, I will be sharing this with my family. But it's just so tasty. Yum, yum, yum. If you've never had Zahtar before, you are in for quite a treat. And the labneh is just tangy and creamy and cool, and that delicious spiced oil on top with that yumminess from the smashed potatoes. So delicious, skin and all. It's just absolutely yummy. So how crazy good does this dish look? I'm telling you, it is just crispy, yummy. The combination of that crispiness with the creaminess and that almost nuttiness you get by sizzling that spiced za'atar. Yum, yum, yum. It just brings this to a different level. It's absolutely delicious. Trust me. No, better yet, don't trust me. You're going to have to try this recipe yourself. And of course, if you've enjoyed today's recipe, don't forget to give me a little like, write a sweet comment, and of course, sharing my recipe videos with your friends. Thank you so much for doing that. I love when you do that, so thank you, thank you, thank you. And of course, if you're not already subscribed to Sally That Girl in the Kitchen here on YouTube, be sure to subscribe and to touch that little notification bell so that you get notified when I put up a new exciting recipe video, which I do constantly, so you're not going to want to miss any of those. And if you're not already following me on social media, please be sure to follow Sally That Girl in the Kitchen on Facebook, Instagram, and on Pinterest. And you can find me as Sally That Girl FL on Twitter, Snapchat, and on TikTok. And yes, I did change out of my blouse to film this video. And then, of course, I forgot to just put it back on and film my reaction to my delicious Mediterranean-style smashed potatoes with sizzling spice, za'atar oil, and labneh. So you're getting a picture of my delicious dish instead of a view of me. I usually talk to you at the end of my videos, but I got so carried away that I forgot. So thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for understanding, and I'll see you next time.
Sally That Girl in the Kitchen.